What's up, guys? Welcome back to Movie Space, and this is my first reaction review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has come to an end. The show that kicked off Marvel TV, followed up the first Avengers movie, has finally come to a close after 7 awesome seasons. And this is my first reaction review of the final season, as well as the finale episodes. As you all will definitely learn on this channel, I am a huge Marvel fan, a huge MCU fan. I would say of all the things that I nerd out on, the MCU is probably one of the top things, if not the top things that I am most passionate about. And before I get into the details of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I just wanted to say, I love this show and these characters. They've just done such a fantastic job building out the world of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and really showing, what happens on the ground across the world as some of these bigger events are going down in the MCU. And so, just going into my review, just wanted to set up how much I love this show and how much I love these characters, and set the stage for what my thoughts are on this final season. Also, wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on what first reaction review is. And so on this channel, this is my very first kind of review. And so wanted to give a little bit of background on how I'm going to do reviews, because I think I'm going to do them a little bit differently than some other folks might do it. I'm going to have 2 types of reviews. One is going to be called first reactions, and that is what this review is. And that's going to be what my thoughts are after the first time I see a movie or a TV show. And I think I'm doing it that way because, my reactions to something and my thoughts on something may be different the first time I see it and the second versus the second time I see it. And so I want to set that context to say, hey, this is my first reaction review. So my review after the first time seeing something. But I also want to do reviews for things after I've seen them a second time or a third time, have different reviews for those experiences for myself. And so this is very much a first reaction review, but for some movies I may have a more developed point of view after seeing it more than once. And so that will be my more typical reviews on this channel. So I wanted to give that as a caveat. So, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7. Obviously, this show has been going on for a while now, and this final season goes into a lot of different directions, and they use time travel as kind of the main story arc throughout this season. I will say just straight off the bat, my initial reactions is I don't think the last 2 seasons of this show are some of their best. I thought that some of the earlier seasons, particularly the end of Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3, I think are probably some of my favorites. I just loved the interconnectivity that they had with Hydra and with kind of dealing with the fallout of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And so I actually prefer more connections to the MCU. I think people have different thoughts here, but I really prefer to see more interconnectivity between what happens in the movies and what happens in the show. Obviously, the show, there's a lot of thoughts online of why the show didn't account for Infinity War and the snap, and kind of why we never saw the fallout of that. Obviously, there were some production-related issues there in terms of the timing of when the show was coming out, when it was going into production, the secrecy that they had around Infinity War. And so, at that point, that's really when the show went off in its own direction and decided to do its own thing. And so I'm a little bit disappointed with that because I think as a result, the show suffered, in my opinion. Obviously, there's some cool storylines that they've been doing since then, but I think the show was some of the best when it connected more deeply to the broader MCU storyline. And then when they started to explore time travel for Season 7, I was actually expecting more old characters to show up. There's some really beloved characters that have been explored throughout this show, and I was really hoping for them to use this time travel storyline to be able to connect with some of those characters on a deeper level, or even just to see some characters that we haven't seen in a long time. So that was, again, another disappointment for me. I thought the ending was very heartfelt. I thought where all the characters ended up was a really pretty good ending, I would say. I think there are some things that I would have thought would have been better, but I think overall the ending was solid. And I think in general across this season, some of this time travel stuff was hard to follow, in particular in the finale. There's a lot of details that, just on first watch, you feel like you're missing a lot of things or not being able to keep up with some of the details. So overall, that's kind of my spoiler-free thoughts. And so now I want to jump into some spoilers for this season and the finale in particular. So spoiler warning, you've been warned, and let's get into it. So for the final season as a whole, I think it worked fairly well. I didn't love Nathaniel Malick as the kind of main villain outside of the Chronicons, obviously. I just felt like his character was kind of weak. Like, he wasn't given much time in the original storyline, and so him just all of a sudden becoming the main villain just didn't really work for me. I didn't think he was very compelling from a character standpoint. I of course liked whenever they interacted with people from their history. I liked seeing Jai Ying again. I would have definitely liked more of that. More using this kind of time jumping, time skipping as a way to bring back some older characters. And then some of the episodes just didn't work for me. Like, I get that they're kind of doing every episode's a new time period. Earlier in the season, we're getting to see a different time period, making parody of some of those different decades. But just some of those just didn't work for me. Both the humor as well as some of the storytelling. In particular, I think this was maybe in the 80s when they did the kind of killer robot like horror episode. That episode just like totally threw me off, and I just didn't think that it worked. It just didn't feel like it matched the tone or the storytelling the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is used to doing. As folks that have watched the show know, Fitz comes back finally after basically the whole season not showing up. And I just loved seeing him again. Fitz, as a character, like, he really grew on me. Like, I think there's some parts in season 1 that he's a little bit annoying, but Fitz and the acting that, I think the actor's name is Ian, the acting that he does is just so good throughout the show. And some of the best moments for me are related to Fitz. And so I just love seeing Fitz again. The moment he shows up, my wife and I were just like, oh, it's Fitz again. And I have to say, like, I definitely called it when they started dropping hints about them having a kid. That was something, like, I definitely saw coming. I thought the time travel part in the end where they put on the blue hazmat suits and they're the ones who we saw at the end of season 6, that was pretty neat. I mean, I love time travel stuff like that where, they show you the same sequence but from a different perspective, so that more was happening and you didn't realize it. I liked some of the connections with the quantum realm. That was their one kind of wink and nod to the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe, to Avengers Endgame, and kind of showing the quantum realm as a way that they go about time travel was a cool little wink and nod. The one thing I have to say, though, is, like, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I get it. Like, these characters are brilliant. Sorry, my dog is whining. But they're basically saying that, like, Fitzsimmons are as smart as Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, that they're able to figure out time travel.
Time travel!
And it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to get it. You kind of have to do that. But, I don't know. It's just, like, interesting to think about. And then I think just in terms of the story, like, I'm not sure that all the time travel stuff works. They seem to say that there are different timelines based on kind of different forks in the road and different decisions or impacts you make to the past. But then they show the characters returning to the same timeline, like, whenever they want to. And so like, I definitely need to see it again to really understand all this stuff, but I feel like just on first viewing, like, how it worked didn't really make sense to me, because you think anytime you go in the past and you make a change, that's going to be a new timeline. And so there were definitely moments here where it seemed like they were going back to the same timeline, and that just, like, I don't know, I wasn't able to piece all that together the first time through. I think in terms of the endings, I just wish Yo-Yo and Mac were more explicitly together in the end. Like, they definitely seem to be, but it wasn't super clear that, like, yes, they're back together. And that kind of left that relationship hanging a little bit. And then in terms of the other characters' endings, you know, Fitzsimmons, obviously, like, I love that they ended up together. I love that they had a child. I love that they are just kind of, like, happily ever after, what we have been hoping for so many seasons. I liked seeing Daisy and Sousa end up together. I thought that was cool. I liked that Daisy is still kind of involved with S.H.I.E.L.D. and still very much running missions and stuff like that. And then I think finally, you know, Coulson. Coulson's the character who started this show. He's the character that this all really revolves around. I thought that him kind of being all well and good this season, you know, as an LMD, like, for me, it just kind of ruined his earlier sacrifices in the show. Like, I mean, he dies, I think that's at the end of season 5. And, like, I get it. Like, he's such a beloved character and you want to bring the actor back and bring the character back in different ways. But it just felt like, I don't know, for the show to end with Coulson just, like, riding off into the sunset, even though he's now an LMD, it felt like they were... I just didn't feel like they spent enough time to really earn that. I felt like they could have spent more time on his struggle of being an LMD and struggling with his identity of, like, is he Coulson, is he not? And so that part, I thought, could have been handled better. And I just feel like it you know, it ruined some of his earlier sacrifices. And then just in terms of how it fits with the MCU, you know, no one really knows at this point. I mean, assuming they've been in a new timeline since season 6, at least, since they didn't encounter the snap. But you know, my assumption is they're in a new timeline. They're doing their own thing. Like, we'll probably never really see them again in the MCU, which is sad. Like, I really do wish we could see more Quake. In particular, I think she's a great character, and I would love to see more of that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whether that's other shows or other movies. So we'll see, but I think it definitely left off feeling like, okay, they're in their own place, they're in their own timeline, doing their own thing. So yeah, those are my overall first reactions of Season 7 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. My grading system here is going to be, I have 5 grades I want to give things. All the way at the bottom is bad, there's meh, there's good, great, and awesome. And so I don't want to give things stars or a number score or a letter score or any of that stuff. I just want to say through a word how I felt about this thing. And I thought that the Season 7 of S.H.I.E.L.D. is good. And thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. Definitely give this a thumbs up if you like it. Definitely subscribe. Would love to make sure that you can see my future videos. And let me know in the comments, like, what did you think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7? If you've seen it, and we can keep this conversation going. So those are my first reactions. Thanks, guys.